Very good. Look at that. Oh man, the camera. I want to adjust it. Hello, hello, hello. Can we start with my question and questions for stream?
Oh, we can.
Yes,
we'll just do it
we
right
can.
now.
Are you happy? Encryption XYZ. Lena's going to draw it up. I'm going to adjust the camera. I don't like those markings.
You don't like those markings?
No.
Okay. Hey, encryption, tell us if the camera falls down. It is, Bert. Get out of the way, Braid.
Sorry.
You made a huge mistake. So Brady, that thing I was going to tell you and then decided not to.
Yeah.
And then I said I can maybe tell you in the future.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to tell you.
On stream?
No.
Okay.
No. No, that's a terrible idea.
Why would you bring it up on stream then?
Because I have to.
I think you do.
Ah.
Very good.
K-L-M. So, we have that these all intersect at one point. That's pretty self-explanatory. If x plus y equals u plus y. What? No. X plus y equals u plus w. Which of the following must be true?
I got these.
So, x equals z. Well, let's work on this thing here. So we know that x plus y equals u plus w. That's interesting. Because we also can see, so now we're going to build to some of these things. Can we prove that x equals z? Does x equal z? Well, they're not vertical angles. We know that these are all lines, so what that means is that any vertical angles here are actually vertical angles. We're not misreading this. So I'm going to put a little...
Use a different color.
Yeah. Can I have a different color?
Yeah, take my blue or something.
Is it new?
I hope so.
I opened up a new thing, and then I don't know where I put the new ones.
Great.
So y we know will be the same as u. We know that t will be the same as x. And we know that z will be the same as w. And then we're also given this, which is probably very important to this problem. Do I want to do this thing?
Sorry.
It's okay.
Okay, so let's write these out as a little system. We got y equals u.
Yes, thank you, Braid.
We've got x equals t.
Mm-hmm.
We've got w
Yes.
is equal to z.
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic.
Wait, yeah?
Yes, okay. There's a substitution that we can do.
I was going to do it.
Go ahead, sorry.
No, I'm taking it away from me.
Well, go ahead. I'm a bird. I don't actually do math because I'm a bird.
That's true.
Caw! Keep going.
If you want to do this problem, then I get to do complex numbers.
No.
Okay. Oh, could you actually turn that light off over there?
Yes.
Thank you. Just getting them out of here, you know? Okay. We have this whole system here. And we know this is going to work out because we got a bunch of variables, but also a lot of equations. So what I'm going to say, we want x and z here. What can we say about x and z? I'm not sure, but we also have y and w. We have y equals u, which I think is interesting. So I'm working through it. Oh my gosh.
Okay.
So I'm going to replace this u for this y, this u for that y, which means that from this equation, the u's are on both sides, so they can just go away. Does that make sense, encryption? Then we would get x equals w, right? Because y and u are the same, and they're on both sides, so let's just subtract y from both, and they're gone. So now we know that x equals w.
Visually, this makes sense. If x plus y is the same as u plus w, and y and u are the same, x and w have to be the same as well.
Yeah. And then also the same thing would go for, let's see, if w equals z. No. Okay.
So if x is w and w is z, x also has to be z.
Yes.
So that's
Do
one
you
thing.
want to do the problem?
I don't know.
You just can't wait.
You're looking around.
That's because you're talking.
Sorry.
Get out of here. Okay. We have a lot of information here. We have z and t we want to get to. We have y and w we want to get to. And we have x and z we want to get to. And I'm actually not able to jump and know exactly where we're going to go. Understandable. Very good. So we know that x equals w. So if x equals w and w equals z, we have, I'm just going to write, equal up here. So we have x, w, and z are all equivalent. So I'm going to put a third mark on the x, because we know from here that x equals w, so those are all the same. We know that x equals z, because those are all equal. So number 1 is true, which gets rid of c, because c doesn't have a number 1. Now let's see where we get to next. We have y and w, we have z and t. Oh, well, that's nice. So we have x equals t, but we also know that x equals z, right? So we have x equals w, we have x equals z, and now because we have x equals t, we know that x equals t, but x also equals z, so now we know that these two together will give us z equals t. So that is good for number 3. So if we have 1 and 3, that means that 2 is wrong because 3 has to be correct. So that means A, not 2. A is wrong. So now we need to just check if number 2 is true or not. Well, we also have, so we have w equals z. So basically x equals a lot of stuff. That's what we're finding here. Oh yeah, we knew that. Okay. And we know that y equals u. I'm not sure if we can get there, but it is a possibility. T plus, so t equals w, no. I'm not sure that we can figure this out. We know that y equals u, and we know that these 4 are all equivalent. But visually, I'm not seeing why that would be the case. Why would y equal w? We can't prove that y equals x. We can't prove that y equals anything but y equals u. And then we just have w, which is all the same as all of these. So, and then we do know that these 2 plus these 2 are equivalent. But still, that doesn't help us much. So I'm going to say, Brady.
You're right. You're right.
Yeah. So I can't figure out a way to get to y equals w. There just doesn't seem to be a link there. Now these are hard. It's I don't know if we can actually prove that y does not equal w, which is what makes this problem hard. Can we prove that y does not equal w?
Well, no, but the problem is which of these must be true.
Right. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes. So we can't prove this. Unfortunately, we can't disprove it, which is why it's hard. But the question is, what must be true? So this does not have to be true, which means that B doesn't work. Therefore, wait, no, I lied. B does work. The answer is 1 and 3. Encryption. Do we have any? The answer is B, by the way. You're right. Very good. Okay. Any questions on the approach to this? You can do it visually and see, well, figure out all the vertical angles, and then know that because these 2 are equivalent, then with those 2 gone, then you get that. That's what we did algebraically here too. It's about throwing math at this one in general. You can throw algebra at it because you have a bunch of equations here, and you can do substitution. You can look at it visually. I think the hard part here is number 2. You can't be entirely sure that it's not true, which might make you a little uncomfortable.
I have a disclaimer.
Yes.
I edited the video of Brendan doing this for Problem of the Day, so I saw this over and over and over again,
right.
Which is why I was ready to jump on it.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So I apologize.
Kind of apologize to encryption.
Nah.
Right.
Apologize to you.
Right.
Encryption, this is a bird, and I am also a bird, so therefore by substitution, or sorry, the transitive property, this is equal to me. I am equal to a bird. All right. Should we get down to it? Get down to the good stuff?
Encryption's not complaining, so yeah.
Sure. Sounds good. It's the efficient way to do that.
The most.
Hi, encryption. Encryption says hi, Levi.
Does encryption say hi?
Yeah. It says. Maybe encryption's account was hacked, and so it's like a secret hi, or a false hi.
Perhaps an encrypted hi.
An encrypted hi. That's insane. I don't even want to think about that. Can you see the blue line? Oh man,
Blue line?
under the bird the box. This is gonna drive me crazy. He's always adjusting the camera little bits. I should just draw the lines like with a little bit of tolerance, so we don't have to keep adjusting them slightly.
Nah, that doesn't make sense.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Just keep adjusting them slightly.
All right. Anyway, I'm Brady. This is Levi.
We're nerdish.
Together, we're nerdish.
And apart.
Yes. There's definitely a lot of synergy, though. You put us together.
So much synergy.
Nerdish just kind of happens.
And here are all the people.
And look at the steeple, and there's CB Turtle's shell. And I will eat CB Turtle now. I'm going to be going over complex numbers. Levi, what are you talking about today?
Dude, I don't know. Science. I'm doing science graph things.
Are you?
Encryption. Yeah, I am actually.
Do we have an overlay?
Yes, I put it up.
Oh, man.
Yeah, very exciting.
You're my hero.
That's not true.
Yeah. We have a lot of specs right here.
Yeah.
Should I
I
draw
don't
little
think
things
they're
on?
visible. I think this guy might be.
I know that. There we go.
Encryption, are you taking the ACT or the
The
SAT?
viewers love when we do this.
What?
Just kind of get these specs they can't even see.
Yeah. They feel like they're really getting their money's worth.
But what about all the money?
What about all the money we're supposed to be
There
getting?
is no money. The money is all gone.
The money is in the banana stand.
Banana stand. Sounds like a country in the
Banana
Middle
stand?
East. Yeah, in Central Asia.
Banana stand? Oh, that's funny.
Banana stand. Yeah.
Banana stand.
Okay, let's get this thing off to the races.
Off to the races running.
Yeah. Okay.
Very good.
Hey,
Oh, wait. Do we have more?
do we? Got more problems to do?
I don't know.
No, we don't. We steal the ball, and we're off to the races. Scare the other team with our mad dog faces. Like, what? Complex numbers. I feel like we're always doing these. Am I wrong? Complex numbers have two components, a real component and an imaginary component. Imaginary is when you divide by the square root. Sorry, when you take the square root of -1, you get an imaginary number. So I am equal to the square root of -1. See what I did there?
You're a bird.
I am equal to the square root of -1. No, you're right. I'm a bird, so that's wrong. So this is where this is the imaginary unit right here, I. And so if you're not I, you're real. You exist in the real plane, the real number line rather. So if you have a real component plus a imaginary component, you have a complex number. So this right here is real. This right here is imaginary. Ooh, here we go. Yeah, this is a great tipped marker here. So you put them together and you get a complex number. There's this guy, actually it's two guys, in one of the subway stations, and they keep singing this song called Grilled Cheese, and it's great. It's this like rap where he's like, a slice of bread, then his backup guy's like, a slice of bread, a slice of cheese, a slice of cheese. You put it together and call it a grilled cheese, and they just keep repeating it, and it's stuck in my head. I don't know how that relates to this though. I think it was something that I said. Anyway, people are getting their money's worth. So let's talk about something like this: 3 minus 6i. That's a complex number. Real component's 3. We have -6i. You can graph that on what is called the complex plane. All right. Complex plane looks like an xy plane, but what you have here is your imaginary axis. That is the real axis. I apologize. You have your real axis, and then you have your imaginary axis as your y-axis, okay? And your real axis has all your favorite numbers in it, going up to whatever, going down to negative, -2, -3, and so on and so forth. But the units on your y-axis are i's. 1i, 2i, 3i, 4i, and so forth, okay? So that's -i, -2i. So graphing complex numbers in the complex plane is ridiculously easy once you understand what's going on, which is 3 is your real value, which is right here. That's kind of like your x value. Negative 6i is your imaginary value, which is kind of like your y component. So we go to 3. Hold on. Very good. You go to 3. You go down to negative 6i, which would be down here, right there. Put them together, you got a grilled cheese. 3 minus 6i. It is a point right there. Okay? Just like an xy coordinate. X is your real, y is your imaginary. Great. You're doing so good. What about something else? Levi, can I get that blue marker back? That you stole?
Well, yes.
Let's say we have negative 2 plus 3i. We go to negative 2. We go up to plus 3i. I made a little fake dot. Didn't mean to do that. That's gone. No one ever saw it. Very good. And that right there is negative 2 plus 3i. I think you see what's going on here. I think you see. Very good. Now let's talk about powers of I. This is one of my favorite parts. So let's say that we have I to the 0th, I to the 1st, I to the 2nd, I to the 3rd, I to the 4th. Okay, first off, I to the 0th. Anything to the 0th is 1. So that's just going to be 1. I to the first power, anything to the first power is itself. So that's just going to be I. I to the second power. Here's where the definition of I comes into play. If I is the square root of negative 1, what happens when you square I? You square the square root of negative 1, which undoes the square root, unleashing a pure negative 1 into the world. So I squared is negative 1. I realize this is kind of hard to read, so I should probably separate these a little bit. I'm going to do that. Sorry. I didn't know.
It's okay, Bird.
I didn't know. It's not okay. You expected better. I let you down. I let you down. Good, good, good. Good, 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 good. Okay. So we're starting over again. I to the 0th, I to the 1st, I to the 2nd, I to the 3rd, I to the 4th. I to the 0th is 1, I to the first power is I to the second power is negative 1. Now we get to the new stuff. I to the third power. How do you find that? Well, I to the third power is nothing more than I to the second power times I to the first power. I to the second power is negative 1. It's right here is negative 1. So what we have here in essence is negative 1 times I, which will give us negative I. So this right here is negative I, and then I to the fourth power will be multiplying by 1 more I. So I to the fourth power is I to the third power times I. I to the third power we just said was negative I. So negative I times I is going to be negative I squared. And I squared is negative 1. So we're taking negative 1, which gives us positive 1. So I to the fourth is positive 1. If you multiply 1 more, so I to the fifth power, you're going to start at the one before I to the fourth and multiply by another I, which is going to get us to I. So there's a cycle here. 1, I, negative 1, negative I, 1, I, negative 1, negative I. It repeats. Every fourth power, you're back at 1 again. Okay? How does this help? If you want to simplify some number like this, I to the 17th. It's pretty wild, right? You'd think that. It's like, how am I ever going to figure that out? Well, every I to the fourth you have is 1. And 1s don't really matter. You can take them out, and they're kind of gone. You don't really need to write them. So I to the 17th, how many different 4s can we take out of 17? 4 of them. We could break this into I to the 16th times I to the first power. Okay? Just broke up that 17 into 16 and 1. The reason why I broke it up into I to the 16th is I to the 16th is a multiple of 4. So I to the 16th is the same thing as I to the fourth power to the fourth power. Okay? 4 times 4 gives you 16. That's still times I to the first power, which is just going to be I. I to the fourth is 1. So this is going to be 1 to the fourth power. Oh, this is getting really skimpy. Times I. 1 to the 4th power, just 1. So this is just going to give us I. So I to the 17th can be simplified to I. That is the point here. You don't need to keep such a high exponent. Yeah, let's do another one. Basically, it's the remainder when you divide by 4. That's the important thing you have to know. Okay? Can you guys go over passive versus active voice in SAT writing? Levi?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, yes we can. We're going to throw you up in the queue there, robot dancer. Are we human? Or are we robot dancer? You are. You're both.
In the sun. I'm a robot. I'm a dancer. I'm a midnight prancer.
Huh? That's good. Okay. What about, I don't know, I to the 38th? You take 38. Also, when colleges ask for GPA, how do I calculate the GPA and send them?
Make it up.
Don't make it up. That's a bad idea.
Oh.
Your transcripts should have their GPA on them, unless your high school does not give you GPA. Some high schools do not do GPA. If they haven't calculated them for you, I don't think it's a good idea for you just to do the calculation yourself. I think rather the high school itself, by not calculating it for you, when you apply to colleges, you just say that my high school did not do GPAs. College Board says neither of the 4.0, I just put 4.0. So, okay. It's kind of tricky here. GPA, grade point average, is an average of all the classes you've taken. So if you ended up getting a B in Algebra 2 your sophomore year, that's a 3.0 right there. Then if you got an A in English that year, that's a 4.0. And let's say that you got a C in Social Studies, something like that. Okay, let's maybe 4.0 in some other class. Your GPA for sophomore year would be the average of these. So this would be these 4 added up divided by 4. So that's going to be 8, 10, 13. 13 over 4, which is going to be 3, and then to a 3.5. That would give you a 3.5. And then they take that and they average that with the GPAs you have for each year. So as you move through high school, for those who use, okay, right, okay, so that's the thing, is you should talk to your high school guidance counselor, not guidance counselor, college counselor, because this is a question that it is their job to know. So it all depends on where you go to school, because I don't think it's a good idea for you just to try to figure out what it is. Yeah, okay, cool. So I to the 38th, if you take 38 and you divide it by 4, what's the remainder going to be? Well, I know that 36 goes into 38, so I know it goes in, what is that, 9 times? So 38 divided by 4 is going to be 9 with a remainder of 2. And that's the remainder is the important part, because we can pull out as many 4s as we want, and they're just all 1s, so they just kind of disappear. They don't really matter. Just like most people in human history. I'm kidding. That's not true. That's not true. There's power in the masses. That sounds like vaguely political. I don't know. So 38 divided by 4 is equal to 9 with a remainder of 2. So 2 is the important part. So this is going to be the same thing as I squared, which is negative 1. I to the 38th is actually negative 1. It's very exciting. Okay. Now you know that stuff. Simple adding complex numbers. If we have 4 plus 6i, and we're adding that to negative 3 minus 7i, you simply add the real components together and the imaginary components together. So this is going to be 4 plus negative 3, which is going to give us positive 1. Oh, jeez, this is a disaster. Give us a positive 1, and then we're going to take positive 6i plus negative 7i, which is going to give us negative I, 1 minus I, okay? So it's the same thing with subtraction, right? You've done this kind of thing before. It's just like combining like terms, okay? So right here we're adding. You could be subtracting as well. That's not too difficult. Difficult starts to pop up when you're doing multiplication and division. I'm going to erase this now. Got a good amount out of this board, I'd say.
I say.
With a little more planning, I could have done more. You know? You always could have done more. Am I Levi? Or am I Brady? I think I'm Brady. But I'm not sure. 'Cause sometimes I look in the mirror and I see Levi. I will find Levi.
I can walk over there.
I can walk over there.
It's not that far. If I can stand up, I know every smile
Keep going.
will be worth another smile.
Yep.
I can watch Bird erase this board all night until he gets his next student.
Good. That's great. It's our next student. Exactly. Should we get like an eraser?
What?
Would that be weird if we got an eraser?
What do you mean?
Like one of those erasers for dry erase markers?
Yes, they do.
What? Have them? This is a random question, but since people pay taxes, do businesses also have to pay taxes? Yes, Robot Dancer. There are a multitude of taxes that you apply in all sorts of different situations. And there are different kinds of business structures, and they're taxed differently. So, yes, there is a very complicated system of taxation that, depending on what you decide to do, if you want to start your own business, you have to be very clear on how that works. Some businesses are taxed on the profits and then can just pass the post-tax income to their shareholders. Other businesses pass the profits directly on to their shareholders, who then have to pay income tax. And even better, sometimes you get taxed on your profit, and then as it comes in, you also have to pay income taxes. Okay. Tax rate without condensation. Without condensation. That's ridiculous. Also, we got a lot of S's in that businesses you got there. We got 5 S's. I think you only wanted...
Not enough E's.
Yeah, there's supposed to be an E in there. And there's too many S's in the very beginning. It's just B-U-S-I. But anyway, it's fine. We like that. Okay, multiplying complex numbers. So we've got 4 plus 2i times 6 minus 3i. Well, this is just like multiplying factors together with x in it. Like x plus 4 times x minus 2, which means you have to do FOIL. That's how this is going to work. You got to multiply all the different pairings of things you can do for it to be as fun as possible. What am I missing? This one and this one. Okay, so let's start with this. We got 4 times 6 is positive 24. 4 times negative 3i minus 12i. Positive 2i times 6, which is plus 12i. Oh, that's going to be weird. Uh-oh, didn't mean for that to happen. And then positive 2i times negative 3i, which is going to be negative 6i squared. Wow. So in the first part, you just treat I as a variable like x. All right, just do everything the same way. Figure out, what happens if you combine like terms. In this case, this is going to be really, really weirdly clean. Negative 12i plus positive 12i, those are going to cancel out. So, wah. And then you've got 24 minus 6i squared, and we can keep going. I squared is negative 1, because I is the square root of negative 1. So I squared is negative 1. So this is going to be 24 minus 6 times negative 1, which is going to be 24 plus, that looks like a 29. I'm going to fix that. Whoa. 24 plus 6, which is 30. Oh. Well done, drunk cosmonaut! Well done! So that's multiplying. Now we're going to do dividing. You usually don't end up with a number like 30. You usually end up with an I value in there. It just so happened that our two middle terms canceled out, which is fine when that happens, but it doesn't always happen. Usually does not happen. So let's do division now. Let's say we had 6 minus 2i over 7 plus 4i. Hey you, 4 i's. You ever hear anyone actually say that to someone? Calling someone 4 eyes because of their glasses?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
When? In school?
I saw my reflection do it once.
Great. Can I interrupt you just for a second to say I appreciate you in the only way I know how? Thank you, Drunk Cosmonaut.
Money?
Which is subscriptions.
A subscription.
Yeah.
Thank you for the sub,
Thank
by the
you.
way. We do really appreciate it.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. Levi and I get by on subs. Pretty much subs alone.
Yep.
Subs. We have a sub.
We do.
Yeah, we take it pretty deep sometimes.
Very.
Into the trenches. We lost a lot of good men out there.
Yep. Shouldn't open the door.
We'll have some more. Wait, what? Wait, hold on. What's going on?
Brady Teach just subscribed. Isn't that you?
Wait. Hold on. What's going on?
What's happening?
Oh, okay, wait. Brady Teach just subscribed. How? That's my, and they just, is that Brendan?
So, somebody's gifting subs.
Oh.
That's what's happening.
Which is Drunk Cosmonaut.
Because we don't know how to do this.
Yeah, okay. I was going to say, is that Brendan who's doing that? Oh, well, thank you. Thank you so much.
Five tier 1 subs.
Thank you.
Thank you for the gifted subs. That's really cool.
We like those. Right? Start marching. Is this what you wanted?
Yes.
Yay.
Oh, we're having fun. We're having so much fun.
Yes, thank you, Drunk Cosmonaut. Thank you so much. Yay.
We gotta drink our milk. Yo, dude, I don't have any milk. I also don't like milk.
I have almond breeze. If you need me to go get, like, my fake milk.
Dude, you gotta drink this.
Oh, man. I'll have one or two. If you're serious, I'll get my almond breeze and chug it.
No.
Is this, but I don't know if this is like, is this like Drumsy or something? I don't know.
They're from Drumsy.
They're from Drumsy?
Originally.
Okay, very good. All right, we're dividing these. Okay, great. So, how to divide these? Very fun. Very, very fun. What?
Just wanted to make sure you were real.
I will remember you. Right? Will you remember you? Very good. The whole deal with a fraction is you don't want to have an I in the denominator. Not a good place. It's similar to having a square root in the denominator, which people do not like. So they call it rationalizing. Right now this is irrational. Dividing by an irrational number, we want to rationalize it, which means we have to multiply by root 3 over root 3. That will undo this terrible, terrible situation. 6 times root 3 is going to be 6 root 3. Root 3 times root 3 is going to give us 3, because that's root 3 squared, which undoes the square root. We can simplify this a little bit, so 6 over 3 is just going to be 2, so we have 2 root 3. Something similar is a foot here, or an arm, or a hand. We have to multiply this by something that gets the I out of the denominator, and here's what it is. You're going to multiply by what's called the complex conjugate. Let me put that in some quotes. The complex conjugate. Conjugate means pair. Complex means what we're dealing with, complex numbers. It's where you take whatever complex number you have and you just change the sign on the inside, but then rewrite it. So 7 minus 4i. That's it. That's the complex conjugate. You got to make sure to do it on the top as well. Okay? Now what's going to happen there? Well, the reason why that works is because if you take something like x plus 5, the complex conjugate would be...
Don't do it, my lord.
Would be x minus 5.
No, my lord.
If you FOIL these, you get x squared minus 25. Notice what's not there that usually is there when you FOIL.
The 5x's are gone, my lord.
I know.
They're gone.
It's going to be all right. Come on up. Here.
What Where are the 5 X's, my
They're
lord?
not really gone.
Oh.
See, if you zoom in, they're just...
Oh,
They did these to themselves.
my lord.
You can always redraw
Thank goodness, my lord.
them. Yeah, of course.
I will remember you.
Oh, God. I try to keep him around. Keeps me skinny. I don't know why. That would make any sense. Middle term's gone. Difference of squares. We don't want an I. What we want, I squared is fine. I squared is -1. That's great. We can do that for days. We just don't want any I's to show up, and that's what this is going to do. Okay? So, on the bottom, if we FOIL, we have 7 times 7, which is 49. I don't like this marker. Can we do, it's the tip is just gone.
Okay, so I'm going to blame you for this, but you'll understand.
I'm pushing too hard.
No, it's because you're lefty. So a righty is writing right to left, and so you're pulling the marker like that, and the tip is fine. You're going left to right, so you're pushing the tip into the board.
Right.
And there's nothing you can do.
There's nothing I can do.
And there's no way for you to know.
So basically, I'm helpless.
So I was going to say we just buy our own markers and keep them separate.
I can just write backwards. Then I'll just be able to pull it. Give me a second.
Everything is wrong here.
I got it.
Oh, is that a 5 or a 2?
It's supposed to be a 2.
Okay.
It looks like a 5, but I was just getting used to it. And you could tell by the second 2 that I really had it down. Leonardo da Vinci wrote backwards to avoid, because he was a lefty, to avoid getting all the...
Yes, he
did.
used a light board.
Oh, that's a lof. That's a lof. That's a lof. Then it's 49. 7 times -40i is going to be just make a left-handed marker. Duh.
That's a valid point, Steven.
Steven Maisko, you should just go jump into your time worm and let it take you back to Saugatuck. It's an inside joke.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Between you and whom?
But not between me and Steven. Between me and it's a different person that Steven doesn't know.
Right. That makes sense.
Right. Okay. So anyway, this is going to be -28i, but don't worry, because now it's plus 28i. That's where they're going to go. They're going to cancel out. We have -16i squared. Okay? The i's will cancel out, leaving us with, we're going to put this down here, 49. Now, -16i squared. I squared is -1. So -16 times -1 will be plus 16. That's what's going to be on the bottom, which we're going to simplify in a sec. We also have to do the top. We have 6 times 7, 42. 6 times -4i is -24i. 6 times, we're done with 6. We have -14i, and then we have positive 8i squared. Combine like terms. So we have 42 minus 38i plus 8. Now I squared, remember, is -1. So let's keep going here. We have 42 minus 38i minus 8 over, now let's finally do this. So this is going to be 49 plus 16, which is going to be 59, 65. 65 is our denominator. Let me get rid of this awful thing. Okay. Guys, we're so close. We're almost done. Very good. Very good. Okay. 42 minus 8 is going to be 34. 34 minus 38i over 65. Now, in certain cases, they want the a and the b values. So a plus bi is not in fraction form, which means we have to separate these two components, which is going to be 34 over 65 minus 38i over 65. And you have just divided a complex number. And by you, I mean me. I don't know if you did it, but I did it. So I just divided a complex number, which is something that I knew I could have done. So I haven't necessarily learned anything doing this, but hopefully you have. And that's why we're doing this.
That's a good point.
Yes, thank you. All right, Levi.
Yeah?
I believe Robot Danza has a question. What was Robot? Oh, it was passive versus active.
The question had by Robot Dancer was passive voice.
Robot.
The joke made by Levi was
Your life.
mediocre at best.
Hey. What?
Dang it. What have I done? No, I've made a huge mistake.
What's the mistake?
Don't worry about it.
I will find my friend.
He is right next to me.
Ah, I did it. That's the name of the song, because I found my friend.
Because we have a tight bond.
Hello, this is a sponsored Tight Pond Glue. Tight Pond
glue.
Tight Pond Glue because...
It's a pond that has been squeezed by a woman's hair scrunchie.
So
very tightly.
Tight now.
And it's a pond.
Yeah, and we say it because we have a tight pond ourselves. Very good.
Open
and
wide.
I love this part. My favorite part of repping our sponsors.
Speaking of our sponsors, and right before you go, oh no, you still have
plenty of time, man.
You got a lot of time, dude.
Oh my gosh.
More time than you know what to do with.
Look at that bottom box. Alta ipsum. What's that?
Alta ipsum means check it out.
No, it doesn't.
In Latin.
No, it doesn't. It means summit yourself.
Right.
As
in English.
Make yourself better.
And summit yourself actually means alta ipsum in English.
Wow.
Right? I think that's true.
Maybe.
Anyway, it's a grade tracking app. It's for executive functioning stuff. So basically you can put in your grades and track your grades, and that's why they call it a grade tracking app.
But it does so many more things.
I'm going to explain those
I didn't know. You stopped talking for a while.
No, you interrupted me.
Oh, sorry.
See, bird. See? Do you see?
I'm a bird.
Yes, I know you're a bird.
Oh.
Right.
Depends. Am I a jungle bird or am I just like a bird of prey?
You're a bird.
I can combine them.
You're a tern. You're an Arctic tern.
An Arctic tern. So we got and we got That's like
right. So oh, it's gone. Dang it. Okay, I guess we can't talk about it anymore.
No, keep talking.
I'm kidding. Yeah. So Alta Ipsum. This is us, by the way. We're Accelerate. So if you want private tutoring, we pay more attention.
Yes, we do. We also have a jingle, which is acceleratetutoring.com today.
For you.
Right. So that's kind of fun.
May cause heartburn.
Alta Ipsum. Keep going. It doesn't just track your grades. You can put in like assignments.
It also grades your tracks.
It's got a calendar.
Oh.
It breaks up your assignments to like, first draft, edit your draft, final draft. It'll put those in your calendar automatically.
Also, it doesn't only have to be what? Oh, it can also be a test. So you put in a test and it says study on these days.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
And even if you don't sign up, it still does that. But you should sign up because it'll do it for you.
Yeah, exactly. It'll be doing it for other people today. The first month is free, so you have nothing to lose by just checking it out.
So were all the months previously.
Yeah, that's true.
But you didn't get that.
Right, there was no utility gain.
This is the last free month as soon as you sign up.
Yeah, but the only month that you actually get it for free.
Which is super... You're just late to the game, really.
I've been paying for free Alta Ipsum my entire life and just not using it.
And so have you.
Even though it didn't exist.
So you might as well get something out of it for the last month it's free.
Yeah, okay. It's color-coded. You can put things in your... We're good.
It's hilarious.
Oh, gosh.
Okay, what do I do now?
Yep.
Oh, right. Thank you. So, passive voice. Hey, who asked this? Robot?
Yep.
Robot, are you here? I can find my way. I can go the distance. I know every mile will be worth having. Robot. Dancer, I'm not going to do passive voice without you. I'm just going to stick in Pennsylvania. Okay. Dang it! No! No!
What happened?
That didn't help. I tried to put my marker back in my pocket, and the cap was off, so I just poked yellow on my shirt. So what typically tends to be the biggest problem area for people taking the SAT? No idea. I really don't know anything about it. What do you think, Bird?
The toughest part of the SAT?
Generally, it depends. So I would say that people fall into two very generalized categories, and there are lots of exceptions. But there's the verbal side, so reading and writing sections, and then there's the math side. So on the verbal side, It depends. If you do, an hour of tutoring, you'll probably be okay punctuation-wise a lot of the time. But the reading section, a lot of it is getting caught by their tricks. They're not really tricks. It's just the nitpickiness of the questions and people not reading the questions enough. Linebacker and running back. The running back is more creative. The math is more of a linebacker.
People are either left-brained or right-brained. They're not in the middle, and they're very strongly preferenced towards one side of their brain. Your right brain is creative. Your left brain is math and analytically oriented. And there's no middle ground. No one's there. I feel like I'm doing Bernie Sanders right now.
There is no middle ground. If we just take the 99% and put them in the 1%, we'll be fine.
Yes. Yeah, this is not right at all. People are first off, this is a very outdated version of how the brain works. It's kind of more of just like a metaphorical tool now. But yeah, no. People are complex groupings of different traits that all fall into this. Don't even look at this.
So, Drunk Cosmonaut, it seems like you are not taking the SAT, and you probably have lots of kids taking it, would be my guess.
So Drunk Cosmonaut's like a parent?
I think so. What is a cosmonaut?
A Russian astronaut.
Really?
Yep. Now, I do not believe... I don't know if it applies to today's, but back in the Soviet Union, they were called cosmonauts. Because they went to the cosmos as opposed to space.
No, I'm on my way to a teaching degree, but I find you guys interesting.
Oh, we find you interesting too.
Yeah.
We were actually talking about you earlier today.
We were talking about what a cosmonaut was.
Like just about 10 seconds ago.
Got it.
Yeah. The first man in space was a cosmonaut.
Yeah.
Yuri Gagarin.
So, Drunk Cosmonaut, do you only drink when you go to the cosmos or when you teach?
Be careful.
What?
People don't know about that stuff.
Drinking?
Yeah.
Oh. No, like drinking the ether. Like the...
Still are called cosmonauts. Okay, it's not. It's ether. Ether, that's just a flimsy word.
All right, ether or.
Oh God, I'm out.
You don't like that joke?
Maybe.
Okay. Yeah, so I would say. Right, which is when this is happening. Yeah, that makes sense. So, Brady, you shouldn't bring up that. Are you here? Oh, there you are. I never know when I see you through the glass if it's a reflection of you or you. Don't think about that comment too much. So
active.
Yeah. Well, no, because Robot Dancer's not here, so I'm not going to answer until Robot Dancer says hi again. But I will do the science stuff in a hot sec. So the biggest problems are generally people being slow readers. That can be a problem on the ACT more. So there are ways to get around that. People taking the wrong approach to question types. I mean, it's a lot of that. So there are two-part questions on the SAT reading, and that's painful for people. It's a lot of, and then on the math, it's a lot of the time kids just haven't done the math that they're being asked to do in a long time. So they're in calculus or pre-calc or something like that, and they're being asked about some geometry question that's pretty easy, but they just haven't done it in a long time. So a lot of it is recall of what they had to do. So when they're prepping, it's a lot of, oh, I remember maybe learning this and I hated it then and I put it out of my head and now I have to relearn it. And then it's a lot of recognition of, the tests are asking questions in very specific ways. And they have their reasons for doing that, but it's not necessarily what kids see on a day-to-day basis in school. So then they have to get used to the formatting of the questions and not get tripped up there, because the stumbling blocks should be the concepts more so than the test itself, at least at first. I'm going to hop over to... What am I doing, Brady?
Passive and active voice.
Right.
No, but you're not doing that.
No, I'm not. I'm doing...
ACT Science?
Yes.
Is this a good time to do that? I mean, go for it.
It's a good time. Was that?
The SAT's coming up.
Is it?
Yeah.
That's a good point. Hey, Cosmonaut, do you have any other thoughts, questions, concerns? feasibly, you could take, since you're watching us, you might as well take the SAT again. Right, Bird?
Yeah.
What was that?
I was saying yes.
Okay, I'm checking. Oh, what is this? Oh. Queen somebody asked for info. Or did an info thing.
On our email?
No. I don't really understand what it was for.
I'll look at it.
Okay. Very good. This is good. Yeah, I shouldn't do the science. That would be foolish. Does anybody have any questions about the math, the reading, the writing, the essay on the SAT? Oh, what do we got? Well, I have thousands of thoughts, but let me see if I can find some math I'm lacking on in my old age and maybe help the other people. Cool. Yeah, we're going to try to keep it to SAT specific. Oh, Jay the Whiz Kid. You're taking the SAT next year? Prove it. Don't prove it. That's not necessary. We already have all your information. Do you have any questions about the SAT in general, or oh my gosh, that scared me.
Oh, all right.
No, because this time I actually saw your reflection, and then I heard a noise behind me. I got scared.
Got it. Don't get scared.
Oh,
Get glad.
oh.
That's what I do. I'm a bird.
Jay, questions, thoughts, concerns, stuff like that? Yeah, you do have thousands of thoughts, Cosmonaut. You do.
Like at one time, or just over the course of your life? Hopefully, it's more than that.
Porque no los dos.
Yeah. I'm terrified.
That means summit yourself in Spanish.
It is not.
Oh.
I'm terrified because I got a 940 on the PSAT. Somebody help me. I need a tutor. I'm willing to pay money. If only I could find two guys doing something for free and assess the skills by doing that. Oh, okay. Well, let's just say with a little bit of studying and a little bit of preparation, that 940 is going to turn into a number that is higher than 940.
Thank you for the follow, Jay. We appreciate it. Yeah, so, Jay, we don't have a ton of people asking questions tonight. 1,600 guarantee.
That's funny.
Depends on how many times you take it. And if you add all those scores together, then yes.
Was it like blackjack?
Yeah.
You go above 21, it's... Woo! Thank God. Jay the Whiskey was just kidding.
Wow.
I thought we just agreed to
We almost just
kind of
walked
like
into a
guarantee
giant
situation.
lawsuit.
Yeah, I know. Jay the Whiskey, you can go up a ton. There's a lot that you don't know that you don't know.
Actually, John Hopkins' dream kid is you, Jay. Ow.
We were just talking to Johnny Hopkins the other day.
Johnny.
Woo! J-Dog, what are you doing?
I'm slipping on this.
Oh, that's fine. That's actually so inspiring.
Yeah.
Yeah, why not? In triangle ABC, the measure of angle B is 90. BC equals 60 and AC is 20. Okay. What is the value of sine of F? It's going to be 16 over 18. I just made that up. Okay, wow, that was quick. Really?
No.
Measure of angle B is 90. BC is 16. AC is 20. Triangle DEF is similar to ABC, where they correspond to ABC respectively. Okay, and each side of triangles is 1/3 the length of corresponding. Okay, so here's the fun part. The sine of angle F will be equal to the sine of the angle that F is similar to. So F is similar to angle C, which is this one right here. We don't actually need to find the lengths in triangle DEF because they will form the same ratios as the ratios we have of the side lengths in triangle ABC. So sine of angle F will be the same thing as sine of angle C, which is going to be opposite over adjacent, which is going to be 12 over 20, which is simplified to 6 over 10, which is simplified to 3 over 5.
Oh.
So that's going to be 3/5.
Yes.
Yes. Now I have a child, so I must leave.
You gotta get out of here.
Yes, I do. Big time. I get out of here like 2 minutes ago.
There you go, Jay. SOHCAHTOA. Exactly. And I learned that after taking the PSAT. Oh, well, that probably explains part of that 940, because if you don't know trig, then yeah, you're not going to know a lot of the questions.
Do you know what Australians say, SOHCAHTOA?
SOHCAHTOA.
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 Yeah.
That's right.
Goodbye.
But yeah, so this is because these are similar triangles. Similar triangles have or they have congruent angles, right? Oh gosh. Brady. Give me a second. I need to close the door. Okay, sorry. These are the same triangle, or their angles are identical. This channel is actually so cool. Find no overpriced tutors. Finally know it. Yeah, I mean, if you want to pay us too much, then awesome. But because we do tutor privately, that's us. It's just me and Brady, and then. But yeah, it's us. So that's us, and then this is us. This is my favorite thing to do. I think it's really fun, especially when people are watching and asking questions. But yeah, I mean, yeah. Okay. Do you have any other questions, Jay? Because you're the one asking questions, and Cosmonaut 2, this is Cosmonaut's question. Yeah. So you have sine of this angle. I don't know what the angle degree is, but if you have sine of 63 degrees that wouldn't actually be the angle measure for this exact triangle, but if it's sine of 63 degrees and then that's angle C, then angle F, if it's a congruent angle, is also sine of 63 degrees, so it's the same. Do you have any other questions? It can be about any of these things. We can show you the overlay. Do you have any questions about grammar rules? Those are pretty easy to do on a board like this. We're also significantly cooler than other tutors. There's that too. With regards to books, this is what I would recommend. I don't know if you have a set time it can take to understand the SAT. I would say that there are a couple of parts to that. There's the test side of it, so the SAT specific side, where it does take, I would say there's a certain amount of time to be pretty comfortable with the question types. And now what we do for our tutoring is, with private tutoring, it's about 6 weeks of weekly sessions and effort and things like that, and doing a bunch of practice tests to be very prepared for the test itself on a test level. But that doesn't mean that you can learn everything that's going to be on the test in 6 weeks. That's definitely not the case. So with regards to studying, it depends on where you are in your education. So if math is really, really hard for you, then you will not be able to prep for those hardest math questions in a couple of weeks. And then it's basically just how you're coming into it, what your concepts, what concepts you need to work on still, that type of deal. Ugh, what happened? Let's see. With regards to those books that you bought, Jay, I would recommend being careful. So the SAT official books. You posted a question on Discord. Awesome, Aka, awesome. I will get to that. I'll just leave it at that. Or, yeah, it is Aka, awesome. I will get to that in a hot sec. Your Kaplan book, Kaplan math book, awesome. That's great for practice. Do not use anything. So I would say the SAT official stuff, any full-length test that the College Board releases itself, you should use as a measuring stick. That should be, I wouldn't use those tests as practice material so much. Practice taking the test. Practice it all at once so you get used to sitting for a full test. And then you can use that to diagnose, okay, here are my problem areas. Also, speaking of which, Jay, have you done the first SAT, like the main official free practice SAT? They have it online. They also have it in their official book. If you haven't done that, tell me, and I want to give you some. It's also something for free that we do that would get you started in a great direction for your studying. I'm going to do Aka Awesomes. You have not. Awesome. Okay, so this is what I would recommend. Don't prep anymore until you take a full-length practice SAT. The SAT one, if you go to nerdish.com, so it's not this Twitch website where you're watching, but nerdish.com, you can just give us your email and then take the SAT on there, or take the SAT elsewhere and then put your answer choices in. It's SAT 1 that the College Board has on their website and maybe in the book that you bought. Put all your answers in, and what you can do from there, or what happens is you submit it to our website, and then we spit back out all of your wrong answers and your score, which you could do on your own, that's fine. But then we also identify all the question types that you got wrong, and then add them all up and figure out these are the question types that give you the most trouble. These are the areas that you want to study. So it immediately points you in the right direction. And I would recommend doing, and it's free, I would recommend doing that. One, because it's in its beta testing, so it would be good for us to get more information on it. And two, it would be seriously helpful for you. What do we do outside of Twitch? We tutor. So not this, but the other sponsor is us. This is actually somebody else. This one, yeah, Accelerate. That's my tutoring company with Brady, where we actually tutor for money. This is obviously not for money. Okay, so Aka, I'm going to finally actually answer your question. Questions for stream. Ooh, this looks fun. Okay, the first two words are helpful. The semicircle. Okay, so we're going to be dealing with circles here. So you know radius. We need to have in mind area and circumference. On the SAT, you get that, so that's not too much of a worry. C, D. Ooh, that's interesting. A, B. So it's a semicircle, which means that this is the diameter and that's the radius. So I'm just going to put a center here. Let's call it O. And then this would finish out the circle. Oh, it looks like a Pokeball. Not really, though. So these two are parallel, they say. And they also say that if the length of CD is 2/3 the length of AB. Okay, I'll write that down here. CD equals 2/3 AB. I'll put that, like, whatever. What is the distance between the chord and the diameter? Ooh, okay, so what is this distance here? I don't know why I would try to draw it like that. We're finding the distance between these two. Okay. What happened to Brendan? Brendan has left Nerdish and Accelerate. He has another opportunity. It's very good for him. We're still all very happy and friends, and we do lots of stuff together. Hey, guys, be quiet and don't come in. Don't come in. Don't come in. Don't come in. Go away. Thank you. Okay. So, we are trying to find the distance here. So what is this distance D? My recommendation for these problems is to draw in a radius. That is going to help you because that's the thing in circles that gives you the most information, and it might start creating triangles in general. And you want to obviously start the radius at the center of the circle and draw it to a point that matters. Okay? And now we're doing a radius. So yes, this is what we're looking for. That's the distance there. But that's not a radius because it doesn't go to the circle itself. I'm going to put that there. But now we actually have something. Oh, there we go. Now, oh, this is very interesting stuff. I like this. And I also don't know how to get the answer necessarily, but we're going to find out. Okay, so we have R. So this is R right here. All the answers are in terms of R. Aka, this is a cool question. I like this. I hope I can get this. We have this radius R here. We have this radius R here. And this is also R. We also know that CD is 2/3 of AB. And AB is 2R. It's the diameter. And CD is 2/3 of that. So CD equals 2/3 of 2R. So that's going to be 4R over 3 is the length of CD. Now, I don't know if that'll necessarily help us. You know what? I think it will. Let me just double check that I know the question that's being asked before I start going down this road that looks kind of fun. Okay, what is the distance between the chord and the diameter in terms of R? Yes, oh, this is so cool. Okay, so CD is 4/3, and that's super important. But what I'm looking at now is this right triangle here, okay? And once I get to the end of this, Thank you for the follow, Chrysetic. Chrysetic, thank you. Okay, we have this right triangle here, and we know that this piece here, this leg of the right triangle, is 1/2 of CD, right? Because this line that goes perpendicular to this, and therefore perpendicular to that, because they're parallel, is going to bisect CD, which means that this is going to be half of this, which means that we're at 2/3 R. So this right here is going to be 2/3 R. So I'm going to redraw this triangle, and we're going to get a triangle, and we're looking for this distance here, right? That's D. And this side here is 2/3 R. Please let me know if you have any questions. Yes, Pythagorean Theorem, exactly. And this is R here. And we're looking for what D is. So we're going to say that D squared equals 2/3 R squared plus, wait, that's not true. My bad. This side is R squared. So R squared equals 2/3 R squared plus D squared. So this is R squared equals, I should have put this in a better place, but it is what it is. 2/3 squared is going to be 4/9 R squared plus D squared. Let's subtract that. So now we get 5/9 R squared equals D squared. So now we're going to get, ooh, this is kind of ugly. Is this one of the answers? Yeah, it is. Okay, great. And then from here, we're going to take the square root of both sides. We don't have to worry about the negative root because we're dealing with distances in a circle, so it'll be positive. And we're going to get, this cancels with this. The squared goes away. This becomes a 3 on the bottom, and that's rad 5. So now the distance is going to be D equals radical 5/3 R. And that would be your answer. That's super hard, okay? And I don't expect you, and I don't expect you, and I wouldn't ask anybody, and neither is the SAT. None of us, nobody, is asking you to know to do this right away. We got here eventually. And the reason I got here without getting too upset with anything is that I'm throwing math at this. This is a circle question, and it doesn't seem to have to do with trigonometry because we're not really dealing with any angles here, right, aside from a right angle. So we're going to throw the right type of math at this question. When you get a picture of a circle, or when you're talking about a circle, you should draw it, and then you should always think to draw in radii. Draw in this radius from the center of the circle to a point that matters on the circle. The point that matters would be D, or it could be C. Either way, it wouldn't make a difference. And then we're given that CD is 2/3 of AB. We also are given that the radius is R and that the answer is in terms of R. So this is where your algebra chops need to come in, because I know that a lot of people are generally way more comfortable with just straight, constants or numbers and then using those and just putting them in their calculator. This is algebra here. This is big time algebra. You start with the radius and then you say, okay, well, I want D, so you draw that in. And now you realize you have a right triangle, okay? Triangles are good friends with circles because triangles are good friends with everybody because they're the simplest and best polygons and have a lot of good uses. The radius is the move, okay? Always do that when you're doing a circle question. It may not help, but they generally do on these harder ones. And then we have to figure out what R is in terms of, or what half of CD is in terms of R, and then you can do Pythagorean Theorem. Does anybody have any questions on this? This is a hard question. This is not going to be question 10 on the SAT or ACT. This is going to be, one of the last ones. I think it's an awesome question, so thank you for asking it. Do we have any more? No. Sad. So the answer is D, if that helps on this. Very good. Yeah, draw on that radii, that radius. Got about 20 minutes. Yes, that's the whole point. That is the whole point. If I can trick you or convince you into, or convince you to enjoy learning, that is the whole point. Math is not just some stupid thing that got made up to make you miserable. It is the language of logic. It is literally logic. It's not, math is not some other concept that doesn't make sense with the human brain. It is logic. It is what makes us, one of the things that makes us human. Once I get over the SAT gap, junior year will be somewhat chill. Very possibly not. Junior year is really, really, really stressful for many people. But yes, math has reasonings behind it too. Word problems are the best now that I realize. Nice, good. If you like word problems, the SAT is where the SAT is where it's at. Yeah, word problems are hard to feel good about, but if you feel good about them, that's awesome. Don't let that go. Hold on to it, grab it, run away with it, make a new life with it, abscond with it, elope with it, all of those good things with it. I plan on only taking 2 to 3 APs. Okay. So when you were in high school, I don't remember how many APs I took. So here's the thing with APs. It matters how many your school offers more. If you're trying to look good with Jay, you're the one who wants to go to JHU, right? Yeah, okay. So JHU, when they look at your application eventually, they're going to look at your school and then how you fared in your school. So, you know, if there are 3 AP classes offered and you take 3, that looks pretty good. It's better than if they offer 40 and you take 1, right? So it's going to be, you know, if you have the opportunity to take this many AP classes and you take, you know, a bunch of kids in your school take 4 APs and you take 3, it doesn't look as good as if, you know, you're taking 3 and everybody else takes 1 in general. So they look at how hard you're working within the offered curriculum at your school, if that makes sense. You're being compared with people that are given the same opportunities as you at your school and then other schools like yours. That's the idea. JHU is cool though. That's very true. I had a couple friends who went there. One. We talk sometimes. We have. Anyway, do you have any other questions? It can be about this stuff. Once we hit, so Jay, you're going to be a junior next year, it seems. Yeah. Once we hit the fall, we'll be doing more application, college app related streams, and a lot of those are for seniors. You know, we'll do raffles for application essay revisions with me, actually. Brady doesn't like them as much, or at all. I don't know. I like them. I'm thirsty. Any other questions? They can be math questions, English questions. Do you know what a semicolon is used for, Jay? Colon. Do you know all the use of commas and the way to separate independent clauses? Do you know what an independent clause is? That's really the only sentence structure thing that you really need to know for the test. But it's the most important part of the writing section. Awesome. Yeah, so it seems like you know how to speak English, and that's the nice thing about the writing section. The writing section, more than any other section, will respond to preparation because, assuming you're a native English speaker, a lot of the time you just don't deal with semicolons very much. So I'm going to start with the most important part, independent clauses. We do this a lot, but that's fine because it is the most important thing. An independent clause. 2 things. Number 1, it's a subject and verb. I go, or he sits, or she jumps, or it is. Doesn't matter. Subject, verb. And then it has to be a complete thought. And that is super important. This is the most important part of the test, or the writing section of the SAT, and it will get you so far. About half of the questions are strictly grammar and punctuation. So this is just a huge concept for you, okay? Now, let's talk about that. I go. Let's say I walk. Let's do that. I walk. Is this a full sentence? Yes, it's a full sentence. It's an independent clause. We have a subject, we have a verb. And yes, it's a complete thought. I walk, yeah, that makes sense. Now, if we say something like, while I walk, this is not a complete thought. It's a clause because it has a subject and verb, but it's called a dependent clause because it depends on something else. This is a dependent clause marker. This, not this. It's a dependent clause marker. It's put on a clause to make it depend on something else. So when you just have I walk, you have an independent clause. When you say while I walk, you need something else, right? While I walk, something's got to happen. As I walk, something's got to happen. Because I walk, something's got to happen. Make sense? That's really important. Now, semicolons. There is exactly one use of semicolons. Yes, it's dependent on the active stuff in the sentence. Yeah. So while I walk, I whistle. So, grammar. I hate grammar rules. When writing a 20-page paper and you lose 5% due to grammar, it literally infuriates me. Yeah, it can be infuriating. I think, honestly, there's not too much. So, Cosmonaut, based on your name, are you Russian and a native English speaker, or is that part of the issue, or you just don't like getting called off for grammar and that is what it is and you just don't like it? Fine either way. While I walk, I whistle. Now, this is an entire sentence. The whole thing is not an independent clause because an independent clause is not the same thing as a sentence. It's just what you have to make a sentence. So this is, yes, a full acceptable sentence. This is your independent clause. I whistle. While I walk, I whistle. So you have a dependent clause and you have an independent clause. Now, there are other things, right? While I walk, I whistle to myself. To myself is a prepositional phrase. You don't really need to worry about that, so just ignore what I just said. You have to know independent clauses and then not independent clauses. That's really all that's absolutely necessary to know. Now, semicolons. There is one use, and one use only on the SAT and ACT, both. So I'm sure you've probably seen them with lists of things. Group. I'm Russian born, but I have lived in the States for years now. English was very hard to learn. I'm sure it was. Russian and English are not particularly similar languages. Group. Yeah, oh, you mean, yeah, like a list. Yeah, group. It's a group of things, a list of things. That is not what they ever test you on. I've never seen a question with semicolons separating elements of a list. The only use, and also I've seen a lot of these tests, so you can trust me. I'm a tutor, trust me. And you're paying me enough so that you have to trust me. Semicolons have exactly one use. They separate independent clauses. And that is it. So if you see a semicolon in an answer choice, what that means is that you have to have an independent clause on both sides. So you see that, it is the easiest punctuation on the test because it is synonymous with a period, right? It can separate two independent clauses. That's it, okay? It is the easiest. Periods and semicolons are the easiest. There is nothing else. There is no exception to this rule. That's why it's so easy. And now they should never be a problem. Now, you just have to, when you see it, be able to identify an independent clause and know, can this be a sentence on its own? Is it a complete thought? Okay? That's semicolons. We got time. We got 10 minutes. Colons are... What is the wow for, by the way? Are you pleased with this? Are you... does this make sense? It seems positive. I'm just clarifying. Also, are there any more questions on the Discord? No? Questions on the Discord. Okay. We got more stuff. There's lots more to learn. We can do colons. Do you want colons? Is that what you're into? It's just crazy in school they don't really teach these simple things. Yes, okay, I agree. Also, I'm sure if you want, I can be nitpicky with the grammar in your comments. I understand that you don't care to write with good grammar in comments, but I'm happy to be annoying about it if it might help. So these simple stuff is not countable, so you can't have multiple of them. So it has to be this simple stuff or these simple things, if you want to talk about that. Yeah, they don't necessarily teach you in high school because it's not necessarily that important to know semicolons in normal life. It helps. It's nice to use semicolons correctly, and while some people think it's pretentious to use semicolons, just whatever. It's correct grammar, and as long as you don't look down on people for not using correct grammar, then nobody should be looking down on you for using correct grammar. That's how I feel about it. And it helps you on the SAT, so you should definitely learn it. Do you know colons? Exactly when to use colons? Blink twice if you don't, and then we'll do it. Also, just contextually for semicolons. Right. Okay. Right. You don't at all. Great. That's awesome. Okay. We'll finish it out with semicolons and colons, and then you will have the easiest punctuation out of the way, and you will hopefully never forget. And it's pretty easy to look up anyway. Okay. So semicolons contextually, yes, you have independent clauses. What separates this idea from a period is that you use periods. You know how to use periods, right? You just have a sentence and then another sentence. A semicolon is a little more funky. You have to have related ideas. So you could use a period where you say, my name is Levi, this water bottle is blue. But you wouldn't use a semicolon there because they're not related ideas. You want related ideas for a semicolon. So I run, Jay walks. So I run, semicolon, Jay walks. Those are both independent clauses separated by a semicolon because they're related, sort of, right? That's how you would use a semicolon. They will never make you choose between a semicolon and a period if used correctly. So you won't have to think contextually about it. Now, Kaplan and Princeton Review might make you do that, but they don't make the tests. And I have never seen an official test anybody on using a semicolon versus a period if they're used correctly. Okay, so that's a semicolon. Now, colon. Why would I write it there? That's so foolish. Okay. I'm going to get rid of this guy. Oh, blast. Okay, so colons. Colons are like semicolons. They're not harder. They're just a little bit more flexible. So semicolons, there is exactly one use. It has to have an independent clause on both sides. That's it. Colons, on the other hand, have to have an independent clause before, and then you can do whatever you want afterwards. So you see them a lot of times, or at least people really learn how to use them with lists. They say, I go to the store to buy fruit, colon. Now, I go to the store to buy fruit is an independent clause. But then you have a colon, and then you might have a list of fruit. But it's not an independent clause because it might just be apples, bananas, pears, and pears, right? And that's it. Okay, clearly not an independent clause, but you can do that. So colons, independent clause, colon, whatever you want. Now, you have to put something here. You can't just do a colon and then a period. That, of course, that doesn't make any sense. But you could say, I like fruit, colon, it tastes good. That's fine. Now, this is two independent clauses, right? I like fruit, subject, verb, direct object, whatever. And then it tastes good. Independent clause there as well. So I see, colon, I see. That's fine because it's whatever you want. You could also say I like fruit, colon, especially apples, I guess. That's fine too. Now this is clearly not an independent clause. We don't have a verb here. It doesn't matter. You don't need a verb. You don't need it. You need something. You just can do whatever you want. I think I've kind of beat that horse pretty dead here. Could a colon replace a comma? No, no. I wouldn't think of it that way. So commas are hard. Commas are legitimately hard. There are 4 main uses on the test. We don't have time to go into it today. If you want to ask, oh yeah, tomorrow we're streaming tomorrow because the SAT is on Saturday, so we have a last minute cram session. I don't recommend cramming for the test, but as a last minute thing to talk about, what to eat and what to wear and what to think and who to talk to and how to cheat. We don't actually talk about that. Then that's why we do it on Friday. But tune in and we can definitely talk about commas. They are the hardest part of the writing section, in my opinion. So colons don't really replace commas. They do. This is what they do. So contextually, what a colon does is the first thing is an independent clause, and the second thing is not only related to the first thing, but it expands on it, it explains it, it goes deeper. So I like fruit, it tastes good. Well, I like fruit. Why do I like fruit? Because it tastes good. So that's why we would use a colon. You could also use a semicolon here. I like fruit. It tastes good. Sure, you could use either. They won't make you choose between them. Unless it's very clear that this is describing this or explaining this and it's very, very necessary, then you would choose a colon over that. And if it's the second one, you wouldn't be able to use a semicolon because this is not an independent clause. Okay? Questions on these or that, Jay? Or anybody who's watching? Dad? Anything? No more questions. It seems. I'm looking at Discord. What time we got? Oh, we got a minute. We got a minute. Oh, yeah. Okay. Oh no, what are you doing so late? Oh. Got a test? No. Okay. Yeah. Example of semicolon. Rob is robe. Nope. Okay. Robe. Whatever. I had pit orchestra tonight. I'm so tired. Oh, okay. Here we go. So, Jay, I assume you can see Hono's comment. It says, I had pit orchestra tonight. I'm so tired. That's 2 independent clauses with nothing in between them. That's actually not allowed. So, I had, I'm just going to say orchestra tonight. I'm so tired. I'm kind of picking on you, Hono, but you'll be fine. We have this independent clause here, and then we have this one right here. We got to separate them. We can't just have nothing. A comma is not good enough. Just having a comma, people think of commas as, oh, I take a pause here. No, that's not what commas are for. They're not for pauses. Pauses and commas do the same things, and I can explain that not tonight. I'll explain it tomorrow if you ask. So we could put a semicolon here. They're clearly related ideas because you're tired. You're tired because you were at pit orchestra. You could feasibly say you could put a colon here. You don't have to. That seems like either you get it or you're being attacked by a very slow-moving monster that is maybe eating you starting at your feet. So you can type. Unless you type with your feet, then it would start. I'm just so surprised. Surprised by this? How simple it is? Or maybe it's not simple? I don't know. What are you saying? What are you saying? Tell me. Quickly. Very quickly. Everyone has been writing grammatically wrong. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Yes, they have been, and they will continue to do so. Yes. And if you become a tutor, it gets on your nerves even more. It's a hassle to write with good grammar, but it is important to know how because it does demonstrate to your reader what's going on and makes it clear. Oh, very good, Aka. Well, sort of. It would actually be everybody has been writing grammatically incorrectly. Because wrong, you can say it is grammatically wrong. But wrong in the way that Jay said it the first time, everyone has been writing incorrectly. Writing wrong means that you are writing bad things. Sort of. It doesn't really make sense. Incorrectly is an adverb because you're using the word wrong to describe a verb, and therefore wrong is not an adverb, so you have to say incorrectly or something else. And then by saying that is you can say that is grammatically wrong, but that's because wrong in that case is an adjective describing that. Does that make sense? So we can, yeah, let's see. You are wrong. That's fine because wrong is an adjective describing you. But if we say you're walking wrong, this is incorrect. This is wrong. It should be, oh, that's very confusing the way I said that. It should be incorrectly or something like that. It has to be an adjective, an adverb, because this is describing walking. Yes, you can think about it as the process. If you're describing a verb, it has to be an adverb. If you're describing a noun, then it has to be an adjective. And this is why it's so hard for non-native speakers, because we just know what words are adverbs and what words are adjectives because we've heard them enough. Ideally, if you've been in a situation most of your life where people are using correct grammar, and a lot of you spend a lot of time on the internet. So that's not where people use correct grammar. Except for here. We're on the internet. We're using correct grammar. We are using grammar correctly, not incorrectly. We wouldn't say we are using grammar right. We are saying we are using grammar correctly. I'm sorry. I know that I'm being annoying. I'm not sorry, but I know I am. Okay, that is all for tonight. I enjoyed this. Thanks for tuning in, new people, Jay and others. I forget what the no is for. I'm not sad. Very good. Yes. Okay. I'm so happy to be learning English correctly. Yes, sure. That means the way in which you're learning English is correct. If you want to say, I'm so happy to be learning correct English, that's fine, because you're describing English with the word correct, so it can be an adjective. Very good. Have a good night, everybody. We'll be back tomorrow at 8, and we're going to 10:30 p.m. Eastern because there's an SAT on Saturday, so we're doing a cram session. But yeah, tune in, ask your questions, anything you want to ask related to the test. We're mainly going to do SAT-specific stuff, so matrices, which are on the ACT, we're not going to talk about that type of thing because the ACT is not what we're doing the night before the SAT. You can also talk about Brady's personal life, things like that. Yeah. Yes, impress your teacher. Very good. Okay. Have a lovely night. See you tomorrow, very possibly.